The clock on the wall says it is 6:30, and we have a lot of items on the agenda tonight, so pull yourselves together. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, call the Liquor Commission Control Commission to order.
Commissioner
Brady.
Vogel?
Here.
Commissioner Papantos?
Present.
Commissioner Vito?
Here.
Commissioner Lang?
Here.
Commissioner Kruger?
Present.
Commissioner Rafato?
Here.
Chairperson Horker?
Here you have before you the minutes of the special meeting of August 5th, 2024. I need a motion for their approval.
So moved.
Commissioner
Second.
Papantos, second. What was that?
Vogel.
Vogel. All roll call.
Commissioner Papantos?
Yes.
Commissioner Vito?
Yes.
Commissioner Lang?
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger?
Yes.
Commissioner Rafato?
Yes.
Commissioner Vogel?
Yes.
Chairperson Horker?
Yes. Any
Not
comments
for
on
the
the liquor
liquor.
control?
Nope.
Okay. Brings us to item A.
Okay, 6A, consideration of a request for a Class A liquor license from Steak Group Wheeling LLC doing business as Rosebud Steakhouse.
Mr. Spondelis.
Thank you. If it's okay, I'm going to take the first two items together just to explain both of the licenses that are before you. So before you this evening is the much-anticipated license for Rosebud Steakhouse, who looks to open its doors by October 1st of this year in the Uptown 500 development. The first item of business is a Class A large restaurant license. The second is a D4 license, which is a supplemental package liquor license. The ownership has asked for the D4 license so that if a customer purchases an expensive bottle of wine but doesn't quite finish it, the opportunity to be able to take it home. And the state outlines procedures that allow such an operation to happen. And for the local ordinance, that would happen with a D4 package liquor license. So the bottle would be stopped, put into a sealed bag that is not resealable. So once you open it at home, you can't reseal it. So that way you could transport an otherwise open bottle of wine.
Doesn't the state statutes override anything? Because that's a state law, correct, about the open liquor being put into a package? And
State statutes don't override. We can be more restrictive than state. We just can't contradict the state. We can be more restrictive.
all right. Because I always thought that was part of any restaurant that you went into, that you could have your wine bottle, open wine bottle packaged and sealed.
Only if the locals allow it through whatever their license type is.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So with the Class A license, there would be three conditions I would ask any motion to be made contingent upon. First, passage of an ordinance by the Board of Trustees authorizing the creation of a new Class A liquor license. Second, the submittal of Bassett certificates for all applicable individuals. Third, satisfactory background check results for all applicable individuals. I am happy to answer any questions, and we have a petitioner here if you have questions for him.
Commissioner Papantos.
Is petitioner?
Yes. Was here.
You have to come up to the podium. Sorry. Nobody will hear you.
Hello, how are you doing? I'm Scott Linval, the corporate manager for CHC. And any questions? First of all, I want to thank you very much for having us part of your community. It'll be a great honor and pleasure to actually cater to your village. So whatever questions I could ask.
Commissioner Papantos.
First of all, thank you for coming to our community. We're looking forward to it. October 1st, today is September 16th.
Correct.
So you have 14 days to hire your employees and get them Bassett trained.
Yes.
Are you
Yes.
moving in that direction? You have employees?
We usually, when we do hire people, they're usually required to have the Bassets and everything before we even hire them.
Because,
And all the management, we already have that in stock, in place.
great. I just wanted to make sure because the time frame is 2 weeks from now and
Well,
we've
usually
all
when-
been waiting anxiously for you
Right,
to
no,
open.
good, good. Usually when an applicant comes in, if they are hireable, we will have them get that stuff before we do put them on the floor.
Right.
So they should have everything in place. We haven't really started hiring, so we will start doing that this week.
You got 2 weeks.
Yeah, well.
Thank you.
If there are no other questions, I would be looking for a motion with the conditions as outlined.
So moved.
Second?
Commissioner Vogel, second Commissioner Kruger. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Vito,
Yes.
Commissioner Lang,
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger,
Yes.
Commissioner Rafato.
Yes.
Commissioner Vogel,
Yes.
Commissioner Papantos.
Yes.
Chairperson Horker.
Yes.
So do you want me to read 6B then?
Please, just for the record.
Okay, no problem. 6B, consideration of a request for supplemental Class D4 liquor license from Steak Group Wheeling LLC, doing business as Rosebud Steakhouse.
Mr. Spondelis?
Thank you. Again, happy to answer any questions with the explanation previously given. If you are so willing, I would ask that any motion be made with 5 conditions for this license. First, approval of a primary liquor license for the applicant. Second, passage of an ordinance by the Board of Trustees authorizing the creation of a new Class D4 liquor license. Third, submittal of Bassett certificates for all applicable individuals. Fourth, satisfactory background check results for all applicable individuals. And finally, the payment of all associated fees.
No questions or comments? If so, I'd look for a motion to approve with the conditions.
So moved.
Everybody jumping on. Commissioner Lang, second Commissioner Papantos. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Lang,
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger,
Yes.
Commissioner Rafato,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogel,
Yes.
Commissioner Papantos.
Yes.
Commissioner Vito,
Yes.
Chairperson Horker.
Yes, October 1st, huh?
Gonna try.
Sounds good.
Excellent.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Item C.
6C, consideration of a request for a Class A-V liquor license from Wheeling Town Center Properties LLC, doing business as Moretti's, a proposed restaurant at 365 West Dundee Road in the Wheeling Town Center.
Mr. Spondelis.
Thank you. Continuing with the good news for the Village of Wheeling, we are welcoming Moretti's to town. This is their Class AV, which is a large restaurant with video gaming license. They will be opening at the former CityWorks site in Wheeling Town Center. And I'm happy to answer any questions. If you are willing, I would ask that any motion be made contingent upon 5 conditions. First, passage of an ordinance by the Board of Trustees authorizing the creation of a new Class AV liquor license. Second, submittal of
Certificate.
Submittal of certificate. I wanted to make sure I was reading the right one. I got nervous there for a second. Submittal of a certificate of insurance indicating liquor liability coverage for the establishment. Third, submittal of Bassett certificates for all applicable individuals. Fourth, satisfactory background check results. And finally, payment of all associated fees.
Commissioner Papantos, you have a question.
Right, it's for the petitioner? It's quick, sorry to make you walk up there.
No, that's quite all right. Hi, my name is Mark Hoffman, and I'm one of the owners of a la carte entertainment and Moretti's. So we are incredibly excited at the privilege of being able to service the good people of Wheeling, and we really appreciate everything that you've done to make us feel at home, and we appreciate you.
And we're excited that you're coming too. On your other restaurants, I believe you have, how many?
We have 14, this will be our 14th Moretti's location, and total of about 24 restaurants with a couple different concepts.
And do any of them have the video gaming?
Yes, we do. We have approximately 12 locations that have video gaming.
So you shouldn't have a problem getting approval from the state?
No, we
That's
should
what I was
have,
going after.
yeah, no, absolutely no problem.
Great, thank you.
And I currently have up to 30 liquor licenses with the state of Illinois, so.
Thank you, and welcome to Wheeling.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Couldn't be more
Are there any
excited.
other questions? If there are none, I would be looking for a motion to approve with conditions as read.
So moved.
Commissioner Vogel, second.
Second.
Commissioner Rafato, roll call, please.
Commissioner Vito,
Yes.
Commissioner Papantos,
Yes?
Commissioner Vogel,
Yes.
Commissioner Rafato,
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger,
Yes.
Commissioner Lang,
Yes.
Chairperson Horker.
Do you have a
Yes. Do you have a opening date?
We're going to shoot for before the holidays.
Which holiday?
Well, I mean, the holidays kind of start to me with Thanksgiving, so,
Okay.
you know, that is the goal.
Excellent.
Yes.
Thank
Yeah.
you, sir.
All right. Look forward to servicing you guys, and thank you again for making us feel so welcome. We really appreciate it.
No problem.
All right.
Clerk Simpson, Clerk Brady. Item D.
Oh, my God.
Brain hiccup there.
6D, consideration of a request of Class H liquor license from VH Maliha Wheeling, Inc., doing business as Westin, Chicago North Shore.
Mr. Spondelis.
Pardon me. Thank you.
Wasn't that funny?
As you, no, my voice cracked. As you know, the Westin has recently been purchased by a new entity. The item before you is mostly administrative, simply reassigning or appropriately assigning a new license to the new ownership. I'm happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, I would ask that any motion be contingent upon 3 conditions. First, payment of all associated fees, satisfactory background check results for any applicable individuals, and finally, the forfeiture of the existing liquor license for the subject premises.
Questions? There appear to be no questions. Look for a motion to approve as read.
So moved.
Commissioner Papantos, second Commissioner Lang. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Papantos,
Yes.
Commissioner Vogel,
Yes.
Commissioner Rafato,
Yes.
Commissioner Kruger,
Yes.
Commissioner Lang,
Yes.
Commissioner Vito,
Yes.
Chairperson Horker.
Yes. That concludes the business for the Liquor Control Commission for the evening. I would like a motion to adjourn the Liquor Control Commission meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Rafato, second Commissioner Kruger, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Give me 1 second.
I would like to call to order
All right, hold on.
the regular meeting of the Village of Wheeling for September 16th, 2024, at a pace that we can change
Okay.
over the software.
I'm ready. All right.
Clerk Brady, roll call, please.
Trustee Rafato,
Here.
Trustee Kruger,
Present.
Trustee Lang,
Here.
Trustee Vito,
Here.
Trustee Papantos,
Present.
Trustee Vogel,
Here.
President Horker.
Here, you have before you the minutes of the regular meeting of August 5th, 2024. I need a motion for their approval.
So moved.
Second.
Trustee Papantos, second Trustee Vogel, Clerk Brady.
Trustee Kruger,
Yes.
Trustee Lang,
Yes.
Trustee Vito,
Yes.
Trustee Papantos.
Yes.
Trustee Vogel,
Yes.
Trustee Rafato,
Yes.
President Horker.
Yes, any changes to the agenda?
There are no changes this evening.
All right.
Okay.
Anxiously awaited citizens' concerns and comments. Clerk Brady.
Citizen concerns and comments. Members of the public may address the board with comments regarding issues related to village business. No citizen shall speak for more than 5 minutes without consent of the board. Members of the general public who wish to address the board must sign a request to speak form prior to the commencement of the public meeting. First is Sherwin Bagone.
Just as a reminder, this is a time for citizens to make comments and express their concerns, and for the board to listen. Neither the board nor staff will be answering their questions.
I've been here before.
Welcome back.
I'd like to speak about Prairie Park. And my concern is the duration. Okay, gotcha. My concern is about the length of time that Prairie Park residents will be subjected to misery. I went to the internet, looked up Capital Development Group, and discovered that it is a very large and successful company responsible for many commercial and residential buildings in Canada. So I looked up Capital Development Group USA, and there's not even a website. The only method of contact is by calling the phone number of the Smith Family Construction. So I reflected on London Crossing on Dundee, which is developed by Ryan Homes, which is a very large NYSE company. This major responsible developer started London Crossing years ago, and it has become a build, sell, build, sell, build, sell, until 11 buildings will be finished. And then they will plant a few trees, and it could take even a few more years beside that. And then there's the Buffalo Grove corner with 295 unfinished and unrented apartments. This project by Mark Smith and Jamie Smith will cost $25 million. Have you thought, though, how can a company that doesn't even have a website, can they afford to build a $25 million project? And the answer is, I don't know. And the answer is, you don't know. The requirements are substantial, and it seems to me that it's going to end up being like London Crossing, where they build one, sell it, build one, sell it. It's almost like Prairie Park, but not quite the same. And I'm suspecting that it could take as many as 6 years to complete this project. And all the time, the people who live in Prairie Park are going to be subjected to 66,000-pound cement mixers and hammering from 7 o'clock in the morning. That's a long time to suffer those circumstances. It took years to build Prairie Park Building 115, and then Building 100 took longer, and then the 5th condo building that we all saw in the prospectus, that was never built. So that also took a hell of a long time. And not only did I go to the internet, but I went to the dictionary and I looked up compassion. There's a lot of synonyms for compassion. There's sympathy, empathy, humanity, and more than a dozen others. I'm asking the board to show some compassion for the 400 residents and voters at Prairie Park. They have a long struggle ahead of them, and I don't think, I would say the proportion of people who are in favor are more than the ones, are less, many less than the ones who oppose it. And it's going to be, I don't know, I don't want to say it with such emphasis, but it's going to be a mess for many years, and it's going to cause us a lot of grief. And I'm asking you people to not sully the jewel of Wheeling and consequently reduce its value over the next reassessment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Diane Gilmore.
Hello, I wasn't sure where to do this. I was going to do it at the end, but as long as Sherwin just talked about that. Last time, a few years ago, before I was even there, people were watching the videos and stuff, and apparently the ex-president of our board came up and said, there have been some rumors that people are not happy with this. Well, that's not true. That's what he said. And I am, in case anyone's going to say that tonight, I'm just here to show you that I have all these signatures of people at Prairie Park who are not happy with what's going on. I can give them to someone, but here it is. It basically is a petition says, I urge the Village of Wheeling trustees not to approve the request to rezone 5 Meadow Drive and 200 Meadow Drive, excuse me, for the construction of 48 townhouses. Anybody want it?
Clerk will take that.
Thank you.
Okay, then I apologize, my printer broke, so I had to put it on my iPad. So, in addition to the direct negative impact that 48 townhouses would have on the safety and welfare of Prairie Park residents, there are several other problems. Number one, there are a lot of variances required to shoehorn 48 townhouses into 4 acres of land. Number two, the sidewalks. When the concept review was presented in 2023, there was approximately double the amount of sidewalk space shown. The sidewalk system presented now here is insufficient and further supports the claim that the developer is packing that space. In this day and age, and considering the Wheeling zoning codes, it's hard to imagine a high-end luxury townhouse complex built without adequate sidewalks. In addition, dogs use the sidewalks too. The petitioner said in the Planning Commission meeting that people walk in the road, implying that that is why the sidewalks are sufficient. But people walking dogs do not walk in the streets. What fun would that be for the dogs? They're usually on the sidewalks or on the grass. And this isn't just once in a while. This is every day, summer, winter, rain, snow, whatever, and 2 or 3, 4 times every day. So how many dogs should we expect to occupy the 48 townhouses? Well, the 18 current townhomes currently have more than a dozen dogs. Using the same proportions, thus comparing townhomes to townhomes, we should expect well over 30 dogs in the Highlands. As a side note, there are currently 22 registered dogs total in all 4 condo buildings at Prairie Park. Third thing is snow removal. There is no uncomplicated way to remove snow. The petitioner mentioned dumping it into the ponds or retention areas. And how will it get there? According to the site development plan dated June 7th, 2024, fences and buildings block every exit from the streets. So is the snow to be stored on the already insufficient sidewalks? This is not only a pedestrian safety issue, but could also affect access by emergency vehicles. And I'm asking, please do not burden Prairie Park residents with the additional cost of bringing in trucks to load the snow and cart it off. An easy snow removal plan around here is necessary. In summary, there are too many shortcuts and concessions necessary to accommodate 48 townhomes squeezed into a small space currently zoned R1. The Village of Wheeling currently has a beautiful resort-like community whose infrastructure was never intended to, nor can it, support the volume of traffic that 48 townhouses would generate, forcing our private circular drive into becoming a thoroughfare. If built, they would forever change the tranquility and character of Prairie Park in the Village of Wheeling. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Daniel Morrow.
Daniel Marin, and I have 5 minutes, and I have 2 subjects I would like to make comments on, and that would be F and J. So is that fine if I can get that in my 5 minutes? Okay. I was at the Planning Commission meeting last month, and had the discussion about the variance for the garage that they were asking for a variance of 3 feet versus the 6 feet that is normally there. And also went through other discussions, and apparently the homeowner did not get a building permit for whatever reason. And I can understand why he may have felt comfortable not having the building permit. In Dania Beach, Florida, where I had a home for 34 years, 2 years ago, I had the 2 bathrooms remodeled, and I had 5 contractors that came over. 3 of them suggested that we could do this without the City of Dania Beach building permit. And I talked to 2 people, of course, that said, we have to have a building permit. Of course, I'm not stupid. I knew that with prior experience with always getting a building permit for anything I needed. But I did talk to those 2, and they told me, well, when you sell the house, that could be a real problem. The sale could be avoided because you didn't have a building permit for these bathrooms. And so the gentleman, and I don't know the gentleman, I don't know where the property is, just my comments from, I thought that the building commission's decision to, if I understand correctly, basically tear everything down was not a good decision. I think that I would imagine that most of the building would be under the rules, and variances could be decided for anything that wasn't done. But the compromises could be done. The building department could make sure that the garage is done properly. Okay, the other comments were on the Highlands at Prairie Park. And I don't see any valid public benefit from waiving the variances to the 36 units to the 48 and reducing the space from 25 feet to 50 feet. I think it's too much. And the village should be concerned about the interests of the citizens, of both current and future current citizens like myself that live in the condominiums, and also the future of citizens, the ones that will be in the townhouses. I saw no provisions for the children that will be there. There's no basketball court for them to play on. There doesn't seem to be a lot of room for them to even walk around. The proposed front yards are wholly inadequate. They won't be able to play there. They don't have a basement to play in. They'll be at the clubhouse. The ones that are over 16 will be, and the other ones will be out kind of running around. And I don't see that there were any provisions made for that. Again, there's too many. The variances were given with no talk about compromise. Could some of the buildings be 36 units, some 48, therefore enlarging the amount of space between the buildings instead of 25 feet, which is really close. Maybe it would be 35 feet, but I didn't see anything thrown out. I just saw a rubber stamp on this by the building commission. I don't think it's right. I think that, and all of you are elected, we're elected by fellow citizens of Wheeling to make these difficult decisions. And I understand that the builders have a financial interest. They put a lot of money up front, and so sorry about that, but really, you people, you should at least ask for compromises if you're not a rubber stamp. I don't like the rubber stamp effect that I saw at the meeting. Those are my comments. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, sir.
Tim Crod.
Good evening. I've got some papers I want to pass out so you can follow along with what I have to say tonight. I sent you earlier this week a memo, quite a long memo, but I guess 20 pages worth. I hope you had an opportunity to read that. This is just kind of a quick summary of that. This is a really great opportunity. This is a democracy in action. We get to bring our petitions in front of representatives, and based upon the evidence and the rules or the laws or in this case, the zoning code, you make a decision. You look at the evidence, you look at the code, and you make a decision. Just to quickly summarize, before we get into what we want to talk about in terms of Prairie Park, I'd like to take a minute and talk about the Bears. If you saw the game last night, it wasn't what we wanted to see, but I don't want to talk about their performance on the field. I want to talk about the difficulty they have in building a stadium in Arlington Heights or in Chicago. One of the difficulties they have is infrastructure. The city of Arlington Heights or Chicago did not build their streets to support a stadium. There was no intention at the time those streets were put together to support a stadium the size that the Chicago Bears want to build. The same is true of Prairie Park. Prairie Park was put together without any knowledge or foresight into 48 townhouses going up on the west property. That's an important fact that we have to understand. So we did a traffic study, and the information I gave you kind of shows a summary of that. Currently, we have 478 cars every day traveling on Prairie Park Drive. If we add the townhouses, we end up with another 250 cars. That's a total of 728 cars per day. That's a lot of cars on Prairie Park Drive. So those townhouses represent a lot. We also looked at what would happen if we had the fifth condo building. That would only generate 136 cars, or a total of 163 cars if you added the existing Prairie Park amount of traffic. Considerably, the point we're trying to make here is the original plan was much less impact on the roads and the safety of Prairie Park residents than the townhouses. It's a dramatic difference. It's a shift that was never contemplated. We also looked, just to understand better the amount of traffic on Prairie Park Drive, we looked at the residents. We have Bacardi in back of us, and we have Mayfair Way and Meyer Drive. Those streets, they have about 156 cars a day, we estimate. They drive 19 miles a day. If you compare those residential streets, that traffic on those streets, to Prairie Park, we have 500% more traffic. 500% more. You think that's a bad situation? Wait till you hear a little bit more. Our roads are 24 feet wide. The residential roads are 28 feet wide. How can you get that amount of traffic on that narrow of a street? What makes it worse, our sidewalks abut to the road. They're right adjacent to the road. You go to any other street in Wheeling, you got 12 feet of parkway to protect the pedestrians. We have more pedestrian traffic than any residential street in Wheeling. In fact, in the northwest suburbs, there's no street that has the kind of residential pedestrian traffic that we have, because we have a beautiful park to walk around. We have senior citizens that love to take the walk. They're not as mobile as they'd like to be, but they go out and they walk a lot. So we have high residential foot traffic, we have narrow streets, and we have potentially 500% more traffic than was ever contemplated. It's a decision, it's easy. When you look at the code for zoning, the first item in the code is to protect the safety and welfare of the citizens. There is no way that 48 townhouses with 250 cars coming down Prairie Park, in addition to the high traffic volume we already have, is any formula for safety. In fact, it's a formula for disaster. If we took Dundee Road and we blocked it one lane for a day or a week or a month, that would cause congestion, it would cause
Finish up your
frustration.
sentence, please.
It would be a problem.
Finish up your sentence. Thank you, sir. That's 5
That's
minutes.
it?
That's 5 minutes.
All right, thank you. We look forward to your favorable vote. Thank you
sir.
again.
Kim Peterson.
Hi, my name is Kim Peterson. I am an owner at Prairie Park. I do share concerns along with other residents about the traffic and putting 48 townhouses into the Highlands. To be clear, I'm not in favor of 48 townhome units with 144 plus bedrooms, and I would like you to vote against changing 5 and 200 Meadow Lane from R1 zoning to R4 and wait for an R1 type of project to come along. That might not happen, but that said, I do understand the desire to add value to land. And instead of it remaining vacant, the village may want it developed. Therefore, in case you are thinking of approving this 48 townhouse development, I'm asking you to make construction less burdensome for the current residents. If this project is approved, will you give your enforced power to current residents by requiring the following contingencies to be put into place before the building permit is given? It would make construction more tolerable and the process more livable for the surrounding homeowners. If enacted, this would also lessen the number of violation calls to the Village of Wheeling. I ask for the developer to agree in writing on behalf of themselves, their employees, service contractors, and guests to follow these stipulations. To arrive and work only during Wheeling construction hours. To completely fence the construction site to contain dirt and debris. To have water trucks and sweepers on site. To keep the site clean and minimize dust. To keep any litter from lunches, construction, or otherwise not in ponds or on the surrounding land, but to keep it within the dumpsters on their land. To park all vehicles on 5 Meadow Drive and 200 Meadow Drive, not on Prairie Park Drive, any Prairie Park Garage access road, or any parking lot or spaces in Prairie Park. And finally, to not enter the clubhouse. And this includes for sales meetings, bathroom breaks, or kitchen party room facilities. Obviously, the exception to this would be tours for potential home buyers. I mention this as Mr. Smith had answered Trustee Papanto's question in June 21st, 2021 about using the clubhouse to conduct sales. He said, that's a part of the HOA and it's not allowed per the rules. We can't run a business out of there, so no, he couldn't use the clubhouse. He also told the commissioners on August 14th, just in this year, that he would use a trailer on 200 Meadow Lane to have sales meetings. Yet we have seen him use the clubhouse on at least 4 occasions since August 14th for sales. These are not crazy things to ask for. I think it's being considerate, fair, and responsible when you're around many people. To enforce these and to pay for any damages that the developer would incur, I'm also asking this board to require the developer to create a reasonable sized escrow account with Prairie Park at Wheeling LLC. That's our HOA board. Prairie Park at Wheeling LLC would have the ability to unilaterally withdraw funds for any damages, future road repair, or fines for violation of this agreement. If the amount reduces to half of the original amount, it would be replenished to the original amount within 3 business days. Fines will be assessed in alignment with Prairie Park's own rules and regulations for owners. The schedule of fines for construction, remodeling, and maintenance is as follows. The first violation is $500 and subsequent ones are a $1,000 fine. Violations, of course, would be documented with a date, time, offense, and evidence, and this information would be sent to the developer before fines are withdrawn. I work in an elementary school in District 21. Some children follow the rules because that's just kind of how they roll and that's who they are, and others, I need to provide consequences and then follow through with them. We need the ability to follow through with consequences. All we want is for the developer to just follow the rules. I'm requesting your enforcement power. They were not always followed through the construction process of the 18 townhomes, which is why I'm before you today on behalf of condo owners who had difficulty during that process. And that has been over just the past 2 years. I believe you understand where we're coming from, as I've heard the same words come out of your mouth of just follow the rules, guys. Wheeling is getting a bond to hold the developer responsible for its roads and completion of the project. We would like your help holding them responsible for their actions adjacent to our homes and on our roads.
Ms. Peterson?
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Good timing.
That's it.
Thank you all for your comments. Clerk Brady, consent agenda, please.
Consent agenda. All items listed on the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the village board and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless the board member or citizen so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered after all other agenda items. 11A, resolution approving and ratifying the village manager's execution of the Eighth Amendment to the service agreement between the Village of Wheeling and Andy Fran Services, Inc. for crossing guard services. 11B, resolution ratifying the village manager's approval of a tag day permit for Wheeling Knights of Columbus Regina Council Association to conduct a tag day event on September 13th and 14th, 2024. 11C, resolution approving change order number 1 and final to the agreement with Parvin Kloss Sign Company for the monument sign at Fire Station 42, increasing the final amount from $2,568, final amount for $24,414 to $26,982. 11D, resolution waiving competitive bidding and acceptance of a proposal from Parvin Kloss Sign Company, Inc. for the Village of Wheeling Park District monument sign in the amount not to exceed $146,244. 11E, resolution approving change order number 1 and final to the contract with Patriot Maintenance, Inc. for the Public Works Parking Lot Improvements Project, reducing the final contract amount from $21,859.55 from $95,753 to $73,893.49. 11F, resolution waiving competitive bidding and approving a contract with Stenstrom Petroleum Service Group for the emergency tank top replacement at Public Works in the amount of $68,680. 11G, ordinance amending ordinance number 5151, which amended ordinance number 5033, which granted final plan unit development approval for the Wheeling Town Center Plan Unit Development at 365 West Dundee Road, docket number PSU 24-0014. 11H, resolution approving the final plat of subdivision for the Third Amendment plat of Wheeling Town Center at 365 West Dundee Road, docket number PSU BPP 24-0004. 11I, resolution authorizing and consenting to the Cook County Class 7B real estate tax assessment classification for the real property located at 401 West Dundee Road, Wheeling, Illinois, 60090, Synergy 111 LLC. 11J, ordinance authorizing a Third Amendment to the redevelopment agreement between the Village of Wheeling and Uptown 500 LLC for the development of the land at 500 West Dundee Road, Wheeling, Illinois. Comparison, a part of the Town Center 2 TIF district of the Village of Wheeling. 11K, resolution approving and authorizing the execution of an intergovernmental agreement between the Village of Wheeling and Northwest Central Dispatch Systems. 11L, ordinance amending Chapter 4.32 of the Village of Wheeling's Municipal Code, alcohol liquor dealers, specifically Section 4.32.085, to increase the authorized number of Class A, A-V, and D-4 liquor license.
Take a drink. If anybody has any questions or comments, now is the time. Otherwise, I would be looking for a
Make a
motion.
motion to approve.
Trustee Vogel, second.
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 Trustee Rufato, roll call, please.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Rufato?
Yes.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes.
13A. Ordinance memorializing the natural termination of the life of the Wheeling South Milwaukee Avenue, Manchester Drive Tax Increment Financing TIF District Redevelopment Project Area, and authorizing payment of the redevelopment project cost and distribution of the surplus revenues from the Special Wheeling South Milwaukee Avenue, Manchester Drive Tax Allocation Fund.
Mr. Smith, how are you liking the new title?
It's going okay so far.
Good. What do we got?
The South TIF was created in the year 2000. It's now met its 23-year life cycle. Some of the projects completed during that time are the Astor Place development, the street improvements along South Milwaukee, and the preparation of the property between 635 and 769 South Milwaukee Avenue for future development. The purpose of tonight's legislation for the board to approve is to memorialize the termination of the TIF, since it has now met its life cycle, and to authorize the final payments for any remaining projects in the TIF and the future distribution of the remaining funds in the TIF, which I'm estimating to be about $2.2 million at the end of the fiscal year. The ordinance in front of you holds back about $350,000 in the TIF, like we did for the Crossroads TIF a few years ago for future tax appeals, just in case any of those go through. And the remaining funds, again, will be distributed at the end of the year. But this is also an opportunity for us to celebrate the successes of the TIF district during its time. The EAV, or equalized assessed value of the properties within the TIF, increased from its base EAV in 2000 of about 1.7 million to the current year 2020, or last tax year 2023 of about 19.1 million. So the difference will roll back into the general levy and increase the main EAV of the village. And that's a direct result of the projects that occurred during the life of the TIF. So that's a big success. Doing so allows the village to raise the annual property tax levy without increasing property taxes for residents and businesses. It's just a matter of rolling that EAV back into the main levy and then increasing the levy amount to match the same property tax rate. So I've estimated that to be about 1.33%, or $236,690. That will come back in December and ask the board if they're interested in increasing the levy to capture that growth. And again, that would not increase property taxes for the residents and businesses that are already paying it. It's just moving it into the main levy.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Mr.
If there's any
Smith.
other questions, let me know.
Questions? No questions.
Make
Need
a
a
motion
motion
to
to-
approve.
Trustee Vogel makes a motion, second.
Second.
Trustee Krueger, roll call, please.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Rufato?
Yes.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Smith, for that excellent explanation.
13B, resolution authorizing and consenting to the Cook County Class 7B real estate tax assessment classification for the real property located at 365 West Dundee Road, Wheeling, Illinois, 60090, Moretti's Restaurant.
Mr. Smith again? Mr. Becker? Mr. who? Becker. Mr. Becker?
Thank you, President, trustees. I'm pleased to ask for your consideration tonight for a Cook County Class 7B property tax reclassification incentive to Moretti's for their purchase of the property, formerly the City Works. It does qualify for this reduction, which basically is a positive for the village in significant ways, from employment, from taxes over if the property were to remain vacant, as well as taxes generated directly by the activities. Mark Hoffman, as many of you know, is here. His attorney, Mark Rogers, is here. And basically, like the Class 6 classifications for manufacturing, the 7B is for those of commercial projects. This would qualify under special circumstances with vacancy of less than 12 months, given the fact that it will be about 11 months with the property being vacant. So we're happy that Moretti's has decided to commit to Wheeling and ask for your consideration of this tax incentive.
Questions or comments? Nice and quiet. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Trustee Rufato, second. Trustee Papantos, roll call, please.
Trustee Rufato?
Yes.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes.
13C, resolution awarding a restaurant, entertainment, and,
Clerk Brady, Trustee Vogel would like to vote on that
oh,
last
I'm
one.
sorry. I'm sorry, Trustee Vogel,
Yes.
sorry. Skip you. All right, 13C, resolution awarding a restaurant, entertainment, and retail build-out grant for State Group Wheeling LLC doing business as Rosebud Steakhouse at 500 West Dundee Road.
Mr. Becker?
Thank you, President, trustees. This is the first Program C under the newly expanded Restaurant, Entertainment, and Retail Build-Out Grant for the Rosebud Steakhouse across the street, opening on October 1st. The total investment in this project is about $2.5 million. The property does qualify as an anchor restaurant, being over 6,000 square feet and seating well over 150 guests. We recommend approval of this grant out of the Town Center 2 TIP District. And with that, I can answer any questions as well as the applicant.
Questions or comments? Nobody? Looks good to everybody. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Trustee
Second.
Krueger, second. Trustee Vogel, roll call, please.
Trustee Rufato?
Yes.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes.
13D, resolution awarding a restaurant, entertainment, and retail build-out grant for Cilantro Taco Grill Wheeling at 749 West Milwaukee Avenue.
Mr. Becker, again, you have a busy evening.
Thank you, and I promise to shut up after this. President Horker, trustees, this is for Program A of the Restaurant, Entertainment, and Retail Build-Out Grant Program for the new Cilantro Grill in Wheeling. The applicants are here, and this is, they are eligible up to $50,000. Their investment will be nearly fivefold of that, so they do qualify for the $50,000 and am recommending approval. And hopefully Cilantro we're going to have a lot of grand openings here coming up very soon. So with that, I'm here to answer any questions.
Trustee Papantos?
Thank you. You have to come to the mic, sorry. Otherwise, nobody can hear you.
No problem, trustees. I'm Roberto Sanchez. I'm CEO of Fieri LLC, doing business at Cilantro Taco Grill in Wheeling.
And
And I'd like to echo our gratitude for coming into Wheeling, and we're very excited as well.
welcome to Wheeling. I just want to know when you're going to open.
Oh, so do I. Some to early October, mid-October at the latest, but that's what we're shooting for, so.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? If there are none, I would be looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Trustee Papantos, second.
Second.
Trustee Rufato, roll call, please.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Rufato?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes.
13E, ordinance granting special use approval to permit the operation of a drive-through restaurant at 749 North Milwaukee Avenue, Cilantro Taco Grill, docket number PSU 24-0011.
Mr. Clicker, what do we got?
Yes, as you've just heard, Cilantro is coming into the former Dunkin' Donuts location at 749 North Milwaukee. That location has been closed for over 6 months. So by our rules and definitions, the special use for the drive-through did expire. So they needed to have a new special use just to ensure that the drive-through of the operation of the drive-through would be similar to the Dunkin' Donuts, and it will be. So that was on August 14th, that was recommended unanimously for approval by the Plan Commission, with 2 conditions that I can honestly say I don't need to read because I've met both of them already, so.
Excellent. Questions or comments from the board? Looks like none. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Trustee Papantos, second. Trustee Vogel, roll call, please.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Rufato?
Yes.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes.
13F, ordinance granting a variation from Title 19 zoning to permit a reduction in the minimum required side yard setback from 6 feet to 3 feet associated with the construction of a detached garage at 303 Center Avenue, docket number PV 24-0008.
Mr. Clicker, what do we got?
Yes, as Clerk Brady said, this is a variation for a side yard reduction for the detached garage. The property originally did have a garage that was constructed in 1961 that was set back 2.4 feet, which at the time was compliant with our zoning code. The code has changed since 1961. They did tear down that garage completely and are building a new garage in a new location. They were doing so without the benefit of a permit. So when the construction was noticed, we informed them of the error and discovered that it would also not be compliant with the zoning code. The petitioner did stop construction at that point and applied for the necessary variation requests. This was heard at the the August 14th Plan Commission, and it received a 3-4 vote, so actually it's a negative recommendation from the Plan Commission. However, I'd just like to point out that the ordinance before you is in the affirmative, as we send all ordinances are always in the affirmative. So if you concur with the Plan Commission, you would actually be voting no for this this request tonight. If it is considered, there is one condition that the Plan Commission placed, which is within 30 days from the granting of a variance by the Village of Wheeling, the petitioner shall submit an application for a building permit to the Department of Community Development for the garage. Upon demonstration of compliance with all village regulations, the building permit shall be issued upon payment by the petitioner, in which the building permit fee shall be double pursuant to the schedule of fees and charges.
Questions or comments from the board? Trustee Lang.
Thank you. Question for you, Mr. Clicker. Typically, and I spent 20 years on the Plan Commission. I think the Plan Commission did a great job on this. They did their job. But typically, if a petitioner came in, their garage was on that footprint, 2.4 feet away from the property line, most likely we would grant them that variance.
If this was an expansion of the existing garage, I tend to concur with that. However, this was the prior garage was completely demolished and torn down. And this was a new garage which was actually built probably 20 feet further back in the yard than the existing.
Okay, so there's a few other things going on with it as well, larger and so on. Okay, yeah, typically we would, even that, now how far is the back of the garage to the property line?
It's approximately 20 feet.
Okay. Yeah, it's a shame that the petitioner did not get the proper permitting, but in this case, I think we could grant some relief. I plan on doing so. So thank you.
Thank you, trustee Lang. Trustee Papantos?
Yes, are the petitioners here?
Please introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Maliha. I'm speaking for my dad also, Mihai.
I got a couple questions, because I watched the Plan Commission. You have a sliding glass door on your garage?
Yeah, the reason for that was where we previously used to live. It was stored there, and it was extra. And, my dad didn't want to have that go to waste, so he just put it there in the back.
I mean, that's not typical of a garage, nor is it, I think, as sturdy as...
It's not typical, but of course, I mean, there's like many openings. Like you could always go by framing the header correctly and using the correct 2x12 or 2x10 or whatever it requires so that that load is dispersed correctly. So, I mean, structurally, it wouldn't change much.
But we wouldn't know that since we haven't done any building inspections on this, and your contractor apparently is no longer available.
Yeah, so, I mean, I don't know if I'm allowed to recap what was said at the commission, but we had a contractor. Me and my dad, we tried to apply for permits, but it was too complicated for us, so his brother, who's a contractor, took over that and said they deal with all the paperwork side of things and all of those things.
Well, and I heard that at the Plan Commission, and my comment to it was, you knew you had to have a permit, obviously, you just said.
Yeah,
You
but-
went in.
Mhm.
When your contractor supposedly was gonna deal with it,
Yeah.
didn't you have a red flag that, where's the permit
Yeah.
that we have to put in the window?
I think that wasn't really in our minds because it was within family. So, I mean, in that case, I mean, I assume everyone, and even now, I think family, you don't really doubt them in a sense, and we didn't have any.
But you have
doubt
to
in
have a
our mind.
permit in your window. I mean, that's, when you get a permit, it has to be displayed so that inspectors know that the work is being permitted, and you didn't have that. I mean, you never asked for a permit. It seemed a little strange to me.
So I mean, all I can say on that is we had our trust in the contractor, but
Who's gonna finish the work?
if and I hope you do grant that we can continue without tearing it down, we'll find another contractor. My dad also does. He's in the construction industry, so I'm more than positive he'll find someone to do it and finish it correctly.
Okay. And you, I think, indicated that you've been remodeling the house because it was in poor shape when you bought it?
Yes.
And so you didn't have a permit for any of that work either?
No, not that either. That was the same contractor as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, trustee Papantos. Any other questions? Trustee Kruger, then trustee Rufato.
Thank you, Mr. President. Hi.
Hi.
The findings of fact in my packet mentioned that the petitioner, that you had a letter from one of the neighbors.
Yes.
And one of the commissioners also stated that they spoke to a
Yes.
neighbor. Was that the same?
Yes, that's the neighbor. If we look at the screen, that's 239 Center. It's a double
neighbor
lot.
next door.
Yes.
And you have no neighbor on the other side?
We do not. That parking lot on the right, in between us and the multi-unit building, is the parking lot for the
Well,
school.
that neighbor's the only one
That's-
that's
that-
affected by your, there's nobody on the
There-
other side of you.
No, there is no one else. That's our only neighbor.
Got
per
it.
se.
Thank you for that. This may be more for Director Clicker. I understand that there's not a fine, but for this infraction, they are going to have to pay double the amount of the permit fee.
Yes.
How much would the regular permit fee be on this? Even a range would be fine? 'Cause I
Yeah,
know-
the permit fee on this, based on the cost of construction, would probably be between $200 and $300, so doubling it will be between $400 and $600.
So you understand that you will have to pay
Yes, I do.
double the amount?
We do understand that.
And I also, I'm not going to, I'll be fully transparent. I did ask ahead of the meeting if there was a way to fine you for this infraction in addition to the double.
Yeah,
And there is not. We have to abide by the code, and the code says that you get charged double the permit fee when you don't apply for a permit when you're supposed to. But I would have been thoroughly in favor for having that be a little bit more painful for you. So you understand that a building permit is required.
Yeah, we do understand that. We were also discussing, like, within our family that tearing it down would be like a really big barrier, not a barrier, but I mean, in a barrier in a sense.
Cost
because
prohibitive.
Yeah, exactly.
I get that.
But then we were also, I mean, I was gonna say maybe a heftier fine wouldn't hurt compared to tearing it down.
True. I
Yeah,
hear you. I hear you.
I wouldn't assume, I mean, I don't wanna
That's
speak.
kinda, that's
Yeah.
where I was heading to. But the other thing is, as
mic
Trustee
off.
Papantos brought up, the patio door in the back of the garage
There-
is odd to me, and the explanation that you gave, I'm not buying it, that, you know, you just didn't want to lose out on having a patio door that you had laying around, so you just put it in the garage.
I assume you, I mean, even at the last meeting that we were here at last month, there was also the thought of potentially having that as a habitable space for some reason.
Correct.
But that's, I mean, we have no intention of doing that. That's not what we were going
And
for at all.
how do we know that? How would the village know that a few years from now, you didn't decide to rent out that garage and put up a few walls and rent it out as a livable space because it's got a patio door now? You know, I
So-
mean, that's just something that's a risk that is taken now because no inspectors have looked at the job.
Yeah, I mean, we could go with the idea that, I don't know, we could say a check in a sense or something made where the village could come out every so often and check that. That's not our intention. The intention is just for it to be a garage. I mean, there's no reason to have it rented out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, as we get, if this is approved and a permit is reviewed and that we will ensure there's no plumbing going to the garages and things along that nature. Obviously, we're not going to let them put in bathrooms and whatever. So I don't see there being a high risk of it becoming a habitable space. Plus, as the petitioner himself even indicated, it's basically surrounded by the school property. It's pretty easy to see back into his yard to see what's going on.
Yeah,
I
and
see.
we don't mind even having official city visits per se if hopefully we'd like to have
Try and
this
avoid
vid-
knocking
yeah,
on your door.
Yeah.
You knock on ours next time, though, when you need to do something.
That's for sure.
Okay, I'm good. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Trustee Rufato, you had some concerns?
Just as an aside, but I understand that your contractors were family members?
Yes.
Okay, well, as an aside, I had some work done in my house just recently, and I had a number of contractors come out, and one of them actually said to me, I asked him if I needed a permit, and he goes, well, if you know your neighbors and they like you, and you don't have a lot of village people driving by, you probably don't need to get a permit. That's what they said to me.
Did you tell him you were a village person?
I did. And he just sort of backtracked a little bit. So I didn't use them, but again, you know, it's back to, you have to check and check and check these
Yeah.
things. And granted, I knew I needed a permit, but the point is that any work done in any house, any construction, probably needs a permit.
Yeah.
Probably the only thing, probably changing a light bulb, but I'm exaggerating, but they probably need permits, so just in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rufato. Any other questions or comments? Mr. Clicker, what alternatives are there to knocking the whole thing down? Are there alternatives to knocking the whole things down?
Well, obviously, if the variation is approved, the permit could go forward as is. provided it meets building and code. Another alternative might be to see if it'd be possible to move the structure over 3 feet, or
How far along is the construction? I mean, I saw the picture. Is it
I'd say approximately half.
all framed
More or
out,
less than that.
sided?
Yeah, well, it's not sided. The walls are up. You know,
Plywood sheeted?
plywood sheeted.
So it could support being shifted over 5 feet?
Probably could. That would be but a new foundation would have to be poured.
Part of a new foundation.
Part of a new foundation. The structure could actually potentially even be altered so that the structure itself could be reduced by the required amount. But that might be, again, structurally, don't know if that would, again, we haven't seen the plans for it. We'd have to see all of that.
I'm betting there's no plans.
We will have plans.
I do believe there are plans for the garage. Those were, so before I had the chance to speak at the last, meeting here, we did have an architect, and the village does have, I believe, 4 copies of the plans for the garage.
So there could be an alternative. Okay. So remind me again, Mr. Clicker, how does the vote go? If we want to allow him to continue as is, what should the vote be?
The vote is in favor, is a yes.
And if we don't want him to continue as is?
It would be a no, because then you would be concurring with the recommendation of the Plan Commission.
So no stops it, yes, he goes forward?
Correct.
That's what I needed. I am looking for a motion.
Can I throw one wrinkle in this?
Sure, why not?
So, Mr. Clicker, are you at all worried about this patio door?
When we review it for the building aspect, we will ensure that it is not for life safety or for habitable purposes. It's a little unusual, but there's nothing in our building code that says you can't be unique.
Okay. Never mind then. I was going to say you're at a point in construction where it can be removed and closed up. But if you're not concerned about it, I'm not concerned about it. So.
I do worry about the precedent. Would you like to make that motion, Trustee Lang?
Yes, so moved.
Second?
Second.
Trustee Vogel? If everybody's got it square, roll call, please.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
No?
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Rafato?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
President Horker?
I'm concerned about the precedent, no. But you get it.
So at this point,
You can say thank you
Apply
and
for
talk
permit.
yeah,
to
no,
Mr. Clicker.
I'm just trying to clarify. At this point, we have the 30 days. If I'm not,
When you're ahead, it's good to stop talking and talk to that guy.
okay.
There you go.
All right. Are we finished?
Yep.
You're good to go.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Right.
Get a permit for the work in the house also. If you're going to continue working in the house, get a permit for that also.
Will do.
There you go. Item G, Clerk Brady.
G and H.
Yep.
13G, ordinance granting special use for final plan unit development PUD approval for the Forest View mixed-use development at 350 East Dundee Road, docket number PPUD 23-0001.
That's P- Go ahead.
13H, resolution approving the final plat of Forest View subdivision, 350 East Dundee Road, docket number PSU BFP 24-0002. Okay, sorry.
Good evening.
Mr. Clicker first, please.
What you have before you is a final plat of PUD approval. This has received preliminary before approvals, and so final is to basically affirm that all the issues or conditions, remaining conditions outlined in the preliminary have been addressed. And the Plan Commission does believe that they have been and has therefore recommended approval of this development, which is to convert the existing office building into a mixed-use office, retail, and residential complex. There are some deviations from the code which have been requested, and that is to increase the building height from 57 feet, to 57 feet 10 inches. That's kind of a no-brainer, that it's an existing building, but the residential construction or zoning says that it would need to be, could not be that tall. 2, to remove the requirement for covered parking. Again, this is a conversion of an existing facility, and actually most of the parking lot is in the floodplain floodway, and so actually they would not be allowed to put a covered parking structure in that area. So that is also a reduction or a deviation that has been requested. Reduction in the minimum apartment rental size to 567 square feet, and a reduction in the parking requirement for medical office to 1 space per 250 square feet. With those deviations, again, like I said, the Plan Commission did recommend approval, and on the PUD, they did put a few conditions on that approval, and that is 1, prior to the recording of the final plat for the Forest View subdivision, the developer impact fees shall be submitted to the Village of Wheeling pursuant to Chapter 17.26 impact fees. 2, building permits shall not be issued until the final plat of Forest View subdivision is submitted by the Village of Wheeling to the Cook County Clerk's Office for recordation. 3, financial surety covering the cost of all landscape plant materials and installation shall be submitted to the Community Development Department prior to the issuance of any engineering site permits or building permits. 4, separate Wheeling sign permits shall be obtained by the Community Development Department prior to the installation of any exterior signage. 5, all other agency permits, MWRD, IDOT, IEPA, CCDOT, Cook County Department of Transportation, et cetera, shall be obtained prior to the issuance of building permits. And 6, prior to the issuance of any certificate of occupancy for the residential units, the petitioner shall provide the Community Development Department a final copy of the document to be included with lease agreements informing residents of the potential flooding situation and the requirement to move their personal vehicles under certain weather conditions. I'll also read the conditions that were placed on for the final plat, which are actually very similar, and that is the conditions are that prior to the recordation of the final plat of the Forest View subdivision, developer impact fees shall be submitted to the Village of Wheeling. 2, a plat of easement for utilities shall be submitted after construction and the final location of utilities are set. And 3, prior to the recording of the final plat of Forest View subdivision, the following changes shall be made. The necessary easement provisions shall be finalized with Pace Suburban Bus to include the existing bus shelter along Milwaukee Avenue, which is partially located on the subject site. Those were the conditions on the plat. The previous conditions I read were on the PUD, but the Plan Commission did recommend approval of both of these as they are in substantial compliance with the preliminary PUD approvals and should therefore recommended approval of the final.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm
Mr.
gonna
Boris.
start again.
No problem.
So I'm gonna try and remember what you just said. I'll keep to, once you're a winner, be quiet. So,
It's not my saying. I heard a lawyer say that.
I'm just gonna try and remember.
There you go.
Good evening. I think we've been here a few times. This has taken us a little bit to get here, but I believe, as Mr. Clicker has just mentioned, we've complied with pretty much everything that was asked to move the project forward, and we're here to seek your approval.
There you go. Questions or comments from the board? Right? Nobody to the right? Trustee Papantos?
Good evening.
Thank you. I did not see where you're going to have the electric vehicle charging stations, which I believe is...
We actually had to have a move due to a fire requirement from the, next to the building into the parking lot. So they are in the residential part of the parking lot.
And will that cause a problem with the fact that the parking lot is in the floodplain?
No, the area there, a portion of the parking lot is outside the floodplain. The vast majority of it is within, but there is a portion that is out, and that's where the electrical vehicle
Yes.
charging stations will be.
And how many are you having?
I'm sorry?
How many?
Oh,
charging?
just two. Just 2 stations.
2?
2 stations, yes.
Thank you.
No other questions or comments? Relative to the flooding in the parking lot, I see by the topographical charts that you've only got about a 2-foot slope across the whole lot, and it's going the right way. I guess this goes to you. How much of this parking lot could hold water in a 100-year flood?
I believe it's approximately half of the parking lot. And again, it's not going to be feet of depth. It's going to be 12 inches or so in depth that it will hold. But that's high enough that a car shouldn't be parking in there. So that's why we've asked that any prospective tenants be made aware of that, and that they are going to be required to move their vehicles to an alternate location if there is a flooding incident.
All right. That's going to be
Mr.
interesting.
President,
I didn't say anything.
Good. Trustee
I'm
Kruger?
just curious, what would the weather incident be in order to notify them? I mean, like, when you have just 3 inches of rain expected, 2 inches of rain
When-
expected? I mean, when do you notify
We get
residents to move their
notifications,
cars?
we're in correct me if I'm wrong, Director Kaup, but I believe we're in a network where the Des Plaines River is a monitored situation. When it begins to reach flood levels, we get an alert. At that point, we would notify the ownership and say, it's probably going to be a good time to get the cars out of there.
Great, that's all. I just want to make sure that we had a plan.
You know, we've owned the property for a long time. I've seen the water in there come and go, so.
It's on that eastern edge, right?
Yeah, and actually, most of the parking lot is outside of that. It's literally the area that's adjacent to the forest preserve, and we've already called that out as a detention area, so we're not using it. We have
Sounds
more
good.
parking than we could possibly need.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
No more questions? Trustee Rufato?
Just curious, where are you at on this project? You know, once you get this approval, if you get this approval, where are you going to go with it after this?
So we're about one electrical comment away from a permit.
Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Clicker. So we're literally got everything done except for one comment on the electrical, and that was submitted about 1 o'clock today. So we're hoping for a resolution by midweek sometime.
And that's on the
It's just one
commercial,
page, you know?
the first floor commercial is going to be the first phase of it, and then the residential will follow.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know you have to change the Dundee in
Yes.
and out.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
that's obviously part of the zoning, well, that's why we're here. You know, we
Yeah.
can't work on that unless you
But that's
approve that.
that came from the state, correct?
Yeah, that was the IDOT
Department of
issue.
Transportation
Right,
requirements.
right.
We're very unhappy about it, but we're gonna have to live with it, you know?
I just want to make, it wasn't the village, it was
No, no.
IDOT that came.
Completely understood.
Okay.
We're gonna adhere to whatever requirements are, and, you know, as soon as we get this approved, we can start working on the exterior, but I think we're literally one comment away from the interior work.
Great, good luck, thank you.
Trustee Papantos?
Just so, once you get your permit, how long?
Next day?
No, how long to finish?
So we're starting initially on the first floor, and that's commercial. We have a medical tenant that was promised the space actually by the end of the year, which is not happening. But we're definitely hoping for sometime in February to deliver the first roughly 5,000 square feet of the space, so they can get their administrative in, and you know, they can start moving their documentation inwards. And then following that, probably sometime end of March, we can deliver the rest of the space.
What
For the
about-
commercial only.
What
This
about
is
the
without
residential
retail.
then?
Residential will not start until we're done with commercial. And then we're doing exterior work to the building as well. So there's a lot of facade work to be done. And, you know, we're not going to be able to do anything inside unless we complete the facade work, which is going to take us, you know, into probably summertime next year. So we're not going to be able to do anything in the winter. Not going to paint the building, not going to install any you know, metal works or anything like that.
So we're
Especially-
talking over a year before resident?
Oh, yeah.
2 years?
No, a year. No more than that. Probably less than that, because the building is clean as an eggshell without an egg. You know, it's really nice and clean now, so we're ready to go. We're ready to start working in there. Once Mr. Clicker releases our permit, we're good to go.
It's his fault. You know, if it's submitted right, I'm pretty sure they, you know.
Yeah, well, you know, this is something new for the village, and you know, obviously there's a lot of things to learn. We've done this before in different municipalities, but this is a difficult process. It's not like building something new. You know, it's a completely different animal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If there are no other questions or comments, I would be looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Trustee Rufato?
Second.
Second, Trustee Kruger, roll call, please. Just for G.
Okay, I was just.
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes?
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Rufato?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes,
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes, and I'd be looking for a motion to approve item H as well now.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call. Oh, sorry. Trustee Papanto, second trustee Vogel. Roll call.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Ruffado?
Yes.
Trustee Kruger?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes, and that would, of course, be with the conditions as listed.
Yes,
Good
sir.
luck.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
All right.
Number I.
13I, ordinance granting a rezoning from the R-1 Single Families zoning district to the R4 multi-family zoning district for 5 Meadow Lane and 200 Meadow Lane, PRZ 24-0002. And 13J, ordinance granting special use for preliminary planned unit development, PUD, approval for the Highlands at Prairie Park Townhome Development at 5 Meadow Lane and 200 Meadow Lane, docket number PPU D23-0005. And
That's it.
K, resolution approving the preliminary plat of subdivision for the Highlands of Prairie Park subdivision, 5 Meadow Lane and 200 Meadow Lane, PSU PP 24-0005.
Let's do these one at a time. Mr. Clicker, what do we got? Tell me about the rezoning.
Okay, the request is to rezone the 7.2 acre subject property at 5 Meadow Lane and 200 Meadow Lane from R1 to R4. The rezoning request is associated with the request for preliminary plan unit development and preliminary plat of subdivision approval for the Highlands at Prairie Park. The proposed 48-unit townhome development legislation regulated to those requests immediately followed, those items followed this one, and were all heard at the Plan Commission and on August 14th, and it did receive a recommendation of approval with a 5-2 vote. They did place a condition on the rezoning, which is that the rezoning is contingent upon the approval of a petition for special use for final planned unit development approval for the Highlands at Prairie Park, a multifamily residential development located at the subject site. Again, as I said, the rezoning was recommended for approval 5-2.
We really don't discuss much about this portion of it because this is contingent on.
Correct. If you'd like, we can move on, we can talk
I
about
think we should. It's just procedurally, this is all, I mean, I understand this has to be approved before the other stuff does, but we need to talk about J.
So J is the petitioner seeking a preliminary PUD approval for the Highlands at Prairie Park, a 48-unit townhome development on the vacant 7.2 acres immediately west of the existing Prairie Park at Wheeling residential development. The purpose of the site, the preliminary, is to make sure that it's in compliance with the planning standards and access and all of the requirements of the development standards. And they have, though, as it is a PUD, they can request relief from various aspects. And so they have requested relief for 5 items. And item number 1 is to reduce the road width, to reduce the minimum right-of-way width for an internal road from 66 feet to 25 feet. Now, I'd like to just maybe make a quick comment on that. The 66 down to 25 would mean is that this will always be a private road. 66 foot would be as if this is going to be dedicated over to the public at a later date. So the fact that they are not providing the 66-foot road means that this will always be a private roadway. 2, reduce the building separation. They're requesting to reduce the distance between buildings in the subdivision from 30 feet to 15 feet. This is an aspect that will be reviewed upon building construction to make sure that it's in compliance with all building and fire-related safety codes. 3, increase the townhome units per building. To increase the maximum number of townhome units per building in the R4 zoning district from 6 units to 8 units per building. 4, to reduce the rear yard setback. For the west-facing buildings from 30 feet to 23 feet, and to reduce the side yard setbacks of the north-facing buildings from 30 feet to 22.5. This, as I stated, was presented at the Plan Commission on August 14th, and did also receive a 5-2 recommendation for approval. They did ask that there be some conditions placed on it, and they are that, one, the preliminary PUD documents shall be revised as follows prior to the review and consideration by the village board. And I should state that all these have been addressed, that A, the street names of the preliminary plat of subdivision shall be revised to the acceptance of the village. The preliminary plat of subdivision shall be revised to reflect the agreed upon street names. And B, a deviation to reduce the north setback from 30 feet to 22.5 feet shall be included. Then the other conditions that they placed on it was that, 2, prior to the Plan Commission's review of the final PUD submittal, the following items shall be completed. That'd be A, as-built drawings shall be submitted to the Village of Wheeling, and MWRD permit number 21-263 shall be closed out for the villas at Prairie Park. B, all outstanding items associated with the Village of Wheeling engineering and building permits for the villas at Prairie Park shall be completed, and open permits shall be closed out. And then the third condition was that the final PUD submittal shall include the following items in addition to the submittal requirements of section 19.09.010E5, and that would be that A, Meadow Lane shall be included on the tributary exhibit prepared by Norman J. Toberman and Associates. B, the auto turning exhibit shall be revised based on the correct wheeling fire apparatus dimensions. C, the lighting plan shall be updated to include visitor parking spaces and the sidewalk at the entrance drive. D, an engineer's opinion of probable cost, EOPC, shall be provided to support the letter of credit performance bond amount. E, a cost estimate covering the cost of all landscaping, plant material, and installation shall be provided. And F, the final color and design details of the 6-foot-tall vinyl privacy screen walls shall be provided within the site amenities sheet. Those were the conditions that were placed by the Plan Commission, and as I stated, it did receive a recommendation for approval at 5-2. The final item is the plat of subdivision, and that also received a recommendation for approval at 5-2.
All right. Who wants to start? Trustee Papantos.
And this is more of a question for staff. On the R1, I seem to remember that vacant properties are typically R1 because that's the most restrictive, and we then move into determining if a zoning change is. So there's London Crossing was an R1 until we moved it into an R4. So this is not an uncommon request.
Correct, and as you can see on the zoning map that is up on the screen, the properties further to the west are also R1, and also to the south then are R1, and those are, the properties especially to the south are undeveloped properties.
And if somebody were going to develop them, they would
Then
have
we
to
would
come in and
evaluate.
they would probably do the same thing.
Correct.
As far as this goes. I just want to make sure. On the, at the Plan Commission, you mentioned the attics in the center units.
Correct.
Are those for storage or are
Just
they
storage.
living? Okay,
No,
so they're
just
not
storage.
living space.
No, we would come back, if someone wanted to build, add an elevator or stairs and go, we would obviously have to do all the steps necessary to do that as of now. We don't have that plan, it's just additional storage space that only those center units have.
Okay. Give me some sort of a time frame on this project.
We're looking-
Once you're to a point of final PUD.
Yeah, so once we get if we're able to get full approvals, we're looking at approximately 2 years of construction. We're going to phase it. We're going to start on the north side of the property with the first 2 buildings, move to the west 2 buildings, lastly to the south. We think that's going to help reduce construction traffic. We also believe that that will allow, as new homeowners move into that north side, then you go to the west, they're not dealing with the construction traffic that will then take over to the south. So, and all this is obviously based on sales. I do already have 7 units reserved.
And all units are first floor master bedroom?
Correct. So all units are first floor master bedrooms, similar to the 18 units we just finished. 3 of those were actually more traditional 3 bedrooms upstairs. We do feel that we cater to the exact same demographic. If you were to go and see it, who's living within the 18 units, they fit right in with the demographics of the condos, and of the 7 units I already have reserved, they're of the same demographic group.
You know, and just listening to the concerns of the residents, I've always learned time is money. And if, I'm assuming you don't have 25 million laying around.
No.
So you're paying, you know, the longer this project takes and you
Correct.
don't sell a
And
unit.
obviously, as we all know, interest rates are high right now, but, you know, hopefully they continue to drop, which will help everyone, but, no, we don't plan on this taking longer than 2 years for 48 units.
During the construction process, where do you plan on having your construction vehicles,
They'll be parking up on the site.
they'll be on?
We will come up with a plan so that they're not impacting the existing residents. We'll make sure that I'll call it the entry roadway up the now existing Prairie Park Drive. It's gonna have a different name, obviously, as Mr. Clicker just discussed, for that section due to, I believe, fire and making sure that they know where they're going. No construction, traffic blocking that so that if emergency vehicles do need to enter the site, that they have an open right of way.
On the turning radius, Chief Saleha, are we okay with the?
So I talked to Bob about it, he said there is no parking on the main.
Chief, can you turn your mic on?
Yes, talk to the Fire Prevention Bureau about it, and as long as there's no parking on the main drives, which is not allowed, they're only allowed to park in the designated parking spots or in the parking lot. There will always be access, and that's similar to what is there right now in the existing complex.
And, sorry. How does the association work as
So-
far as, are they part of the Prairie Park condo and then a small part of the Highlands?
So there's actually an existing cross easement use agreement. When the original Prairie Park condos were approved 20 years ago or however long it was, there was an easement granted to that property, knowing that eventually something would be constructed on it and that the access would have to come through Prairie Park. Essentially, there will be, if the Highlands were to be approved and completed, you would have 3 separate associations. What that cross easement agreement did is if you were to remove the new villas, 18 townhomes, and remove the 4 existing condo buildings, and you took that total cost, that everyone is paying their fair share, their piece of the pie for things like the waterfall, the clubhouse, snow removal, landscaping, basically for anything involved in the site. The condo board actually just had a meeting due to the additional funds that are being paid from the villas. The increase, unfortunately, with the condos, utilities are included like gas and water, which continue to rise. But they actually rose at a lower rate than they would have had the villas not been constructed. So more money, once the 48 units, if we get approval and are completed, more money will actually be paid into that condo association to help alleviate costs associated with the site, meaning the waterfall, any site electricity, any site irrigation, landscaping, snow removal, the clubhouse. So your piece of the pie essentially shrinks from 1/258th for all those costs now to 1/306.
What about the road improvements or repair of,
If there's any damage created whatsoever, we would.
just overall?
Yeah.
I mean, eventually your road is going to need to be redone. I mean, you're saving in reserves, I'm assuming?
Yes, the existing condo building has great reserves. We did put, when this was constructed years ago, you have additional binder and topping above and beyond what was necessary. And the reason that was done was we knew we were gonna do originally another condo building. You're gonna have 5 condo buildings, and the type of construction traffic that you get for precast and steel cranes and weight for things like that is much higher than wood frame construction than what you'll have driving up there.
And snow removal?
We'll have a plan. We'll work with you're on 7.2 acres there. The existing density for what is Prairie Park now in 17. Originally, it was approved at like 18.35. What's existing there today with the new villas is about 15.7. In the back, you're at 6.4 units per acre. We've got plenty of room to find places to put the snow.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Papantos. Trustee Lang.
She literally nailed every one of my questions.
You should have raised your hand first.
But, so I was going to ask you about walking us through the construction timeframe, and you have. Talk about the equipment as it moves on site. everything goes through that ring road?
Correct.
Okay, and you have, I had heard sweepers and such?
Correct. So we'll have a water truck, a sweeper to help keep the roads clean, water truck to keep dust down. We'll also be putting a windshield on the construction fence, along with the silt fence that's required to help keep dust. We're going to do our best to keep construction traffic and dust and debris to a minimum.
And then, as you were saying, the share of everyone's,
The cross easement and use agreement.
that will it essentially lower the cost of the?
I don't, I'm in a unit at Prairie Park, utility, the condos, it covers gas, heating, cooking, water. With the townhomes, they're all metered separately, so I can't say that they'll go down, but as I just stated, they would have rose at almost 2 percentage points higher without just those 18 units. With 48, there will be significantly more monies that are going in to help alleviate, as we all know, the cost of everything has continued to go up in recent years. So that will help alleviate the existing cost because you have more unit owners paying for their fair share of the pie.
And what you had said about the easement for that western property, this piece of property, from the very beginning when we met on this, there was always indication that you were going to build back here.
And the intent back then was actually to put 2 more 7-story buildings, which would have been 144 additional units. I truly believe this, and as I said, I live there, that we had, years ago, D.R. Horton was looking at doing 55 3-story row homes on this property, and we felt that rather than packing in as many as we could with a 3-story product, that this fits the existing demographic. Change is hard, but it's going to be less invasive for who you have living there today, and it's going to, at least in our opinion, fit in appropriately.
Well, any construction over a period of 1-2 years is a heartache for all the residents that are currently there. It's going to be a little bit tough and a little bit uncomfortable at times, but your project is amazing, one of the best in Wheeling, and it'll continue that way as well. And I think I'm looking forward to a completed project back there.
Thank you.
Trustee Kruger and then Trustee Rufato.
Thank you, Mr. President, and welcome back, Mr. Smith.
Thank you.
Chief Salela, I hate to put you on the spot again, but to Trustee Papantos's question regarding the turning radiuses, I'm not sure I heard the answer.
Yes, so our civil engineers actually already submitted that. He just used
I
the,
believe she was asking Chief Saleh.
I was asking
Oh,
the
I'm
chief.
sorry, I thought you were
That's quite all right. No, I get it. You had to
sorry.
give them information in
Yeah.
order for him to answer me, but
So the way the project is proposed, that if nobody's parked in any of the driveways, any of the roads in there, there is enough room. They have to be parked in designated parking spots, and if you see the way the other complex is there, there's designated spots, and nobody can park on any of those main drives. If anybody's parked on the main drives, there isn't enough room for the fire engines to get through. But if everybody's in spots where they're supposed to be, and there's no parking posted signs on those main roads and driveways. So there is enough room to get through there.
and we have rigs and trucks that will be able to make those turns.
Yes.
Without smacking into anything. Okay.
Fire prevention looked at all of the drawings and dimensions and everything.
Thanks for trying to answer. Thanks for jumping in. The only other question I had was about Meadow Lane. That road is thoroughly being used for emergency access into this site in the event of an emergency, right?
correct,
And access to, there are still residents on Meadow
Correct.
Lane, correct?
correct.
And Meadow Lane is being resurfaced, reconditioned?
Yeah, so we talked with staff, we're gonna help improve our section. It'll still be, gravel for now, but improve the potholes and make it nicer in the short term, and then obviously, we're gonna give you, for our section of it, a complete brand-new road.
But only your section.
Our section, and then the emergency section going up to this project, correct?
Got it. So then what happens after the part that you guys improve for those residents?
We can have a discussion about that later. It's not really, I can just briefly tell you, the village is actually one of the property owners of there, and we're working collaboratively with all the property owners on a long-term maintenance schedule.
Fair enough. That's all I had. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Thank you, Trustee Krueger. Trustee Rafato?
Thank you. Just listening to the residents that are here tonight, one of the things they talked about, it's related to probably the number of cars. The number was a 500% increase in cars. What is the demographic that you are looking for?
So you have, as I said, 258 existing homes within Prairie Park today. I don't agree, I'm sure time was spent into that effort, but I don't agree that 48 townhomes is going to increase the amount of car traffic by 500%. Of the people that I already have that have reserved units, as I said, it's the same demographic that is within the condos and within the villas. You have singles, but the vast majority is a couple. Most of them are of a certain age where they do a lot of driving together if they're going to the grocery store and things like that. And we have not seen a massive increase in traffic from those 18 townhomes, and I don't expect to see that based on the demographics that I'm currently reserving units with for the Highlands project.
And I assume there are going to be kids there, probably.
As of right now, no, none of those 7 have. If you look at the existing 18 we just finished, you had a couple, like one high schooler, one college person for any of the new buyers. I think you do have someone who resold a unit, and I'm not positive of this, maybe one school-age child. But that is not the target demographic that I'm selling to.
Was the traffic, did you look into that, the number of
The original plan with the last condo building was an additional 72 units, and we knew that we're going to have less traffic than what the original plan is. You have less homes.
Right, yeah. Okay, because and speaking of that, it just seems, I'm not sure which way to go on that, because if the demographics that you're seeing are contrary to what has been studied, and you've had the experience with the 18, so it's just an interesting way to look at it. The road construction, they're talking about the circle, and I think a couple of trustees talked about that. With all that traffic, there's probably going to be some damage to those.
If we create any damage, we will be repairing it.
You will repair, it's not coming out of the HOA or?
No.
Okay, all right. I wasn't sure. I thought I heard you say that you had a reserve.
No, I think that was more about long-term, 10 years down the road, 50, if they
Okay.
resurface, it is asphalt.
Right.
With our winters, obviously, you do have to resurface every X amount of time.
So you mentioned that you're going to try to make this construction as less invasive as possible, and it's by the way you're constructing the buildings.
Correct. Phasing to the north first, rather than bringing more machinery in,
Right.
taking it all off at once, doing everything all at once, focusing on the north, the first 2 buildings, backing up to the park and the Park District land to the north, then the 2 west buildings, lastly, the 2 buildings to the south, closer to Picardy. We think that will also help the homeowners in that neighborhood to deal with less construction, so they won't be dealing with it during the entire duration.
And speaking of Picardy, there's no construction traffic going through there except for when you're working on Meadow Lane.
Correct. When we're doing the road, there'll probably be some traffic in there then.
Okay, as
Just
long
because
as-
it won't be excessive. It won't be people driving up onto the site to do work on the Highlands, but for the road work involved, yes, there will be some.
I know there's not any permitting that is needed, but can we notify those people when that work is going to be done?
Sure, absolutely.
Just so they know that it's not.
Yeah, we'll give, a month or 2 notice so that they're not surprised.
I know there were a number of residents at the Plan Commission meeting from that area, and, we want to allay their fears that the construction for this project is not going through their subdivision.
Correct.
Okay. Then, one of the residents talked about construction hours, adhering to those. Are your water trucks and cleaners, are they going to be on site?
The water truck will be on site. The sweeper will be on site.
Okay, all right.
It's a sweeper that connects to the Bobcat, which will be on site, so that if dirt gets dropped on the roads, one of the workers can go
And
get
I'm
in
sure
that.
that'll probably be a daily occurrence.
Depending on the day, it could be,
Yeah,
correct.
okay. And with that said, again, all of the parking will be self-contained in the site.
On the 7 acres, correct.
Okay. And you just mentioned the fencing around it. You mentioned two things. One was like a silt,
Silt fence, which is obviously required, and
Right.
what we discussed internally to try, dust was a concern for some residents
Right.
at the plan commission meeting, is putting the windshield up. So it's like plastic on the construction fencing surrounding,
so it's taller.
correct, and it's surrounding the entire site.
Right.
So, we're
Because I
trying to
think
do
one of the-
everything we can to alleviate those concerns.
I think one of the plan commission members mentioned the construction down on Dundee Road across the street from the high school. They're doing construction there and they have a higher type of fence. Is that similar to what you're talking about?
Correct, it's a construction fence, so it's
Okay.
6 feet, 6-foot fence.
And I know, so is that, from a security perspective, is that, do you have security for that when you start building something? I'm just generally.
That's why the fence is there,
Yeah.
to keep people out.
Out, so it's locked and everything?
Correct.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's open during
During the
business
day.
hours when guys are having to access the site, and then the project manager will be closing it down, locking it up every day.
And what are construction hours in the village, Ross?
7 to 7.
7 to what?
7 to 7.
7 to 7. Okay. And,
And I should add, no construction on Sundays. That's-
okay. And I know this is probably not an issue for the village, but a resident brought up about using the clubhouse and the sales. You said you're going to have a trailer for the sales
So we'll have a
office.
trailer there. I'm a resident there. I have access to the clubhouse.
Mm-hmm.
And it's within the rules that I'm in there as well.
Okay. And I am a bit concerned about the infrastructure of the roads, but I know it's an internal road. It's not our issue, but I'm sure you're going to keep up on that, ensuring that, if there are damage to the roads, that they will be fixed quickly.
Absolutely.
Right. That's all I had. Thank you.
Any other questions? I have a couple. How long are the aprons outside of the garage doors?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Apron, garage door to
How long
curb?
are the aprons? The driveways? 20 feet.
20 feet.
So I believe they're slightly longer than the villas were.
Yes. Because the tail ends of the vehicles do hang over. They would have to park again. Yes, 20 feet is better. Thank you. I am concerned about how narrow the streets are. I do understand that you're going to have no parking allowed on the ring road back in the Highlands, but a car parked in there could really mess up an emergency vehicle.
There's currently no parking on the existing ring road, and they're towed. If someone's parking where they're not supposed to, the management company has them towed, which we're planning on utilizing the exact same management company for the Highlands.
There you go. You have 16 visitor parking spaces?
I believe, is it 19 or 16, Cliff? Parking? I believe it's 19. We increased it.
Okay.
For parking, you do have the existing Prairie Park parking. It's 2.31 spaces per home. In the back, you have 4.4 parking spaces per home.
Well, you could much easier, yeah, okay. Okay, I have no further questions. Thank you. Any other questions? Trustee Rufato?
Just as an.
No. It's not how it. I know, and you had your opportunity at your 5 minutes, and we try to address all of those concerns. That's not how this game. No.
Does anyone else think it's reasonable?
It's not part of our procedures to
I know, thank
hear
you.
the citizens again.
we do try, I know I make notes during all citizens' comments, and I try to address the concerns that are brought up during citizens' comments at the issues as they come. That's why I take notes. I'm sure that everybody else also makes notes about the comments that are brought up as well. But I do try to maintain order at these things, and I do not like to establish, and I don't want to establish precedences of losing control of the meetings, which might sound silly to you, but it happens. So I am sorry, no.
I just want to make one statement, if you don't.
Thank you.
10 seconds.
No. It's really that simple. Thank you. No. Who had something?
I hope the newspapers are.
I hope so too. Somebody had? No.
It was just me, a general comment about, we were talking about EVs before. Are the garages going to be built out for EVs?
We're going to be putting the conduit within the
Roughed
garages.
in?
Yes.
And if they requested,
And
it's part of
we-
the,
And someone else was correct, and we said we should have done it for the villas, and I was one who said I didn't think we would need them, and I was incorrect because we did put in, of the 18, we probably put in 7 or 8 for people. So we're gonna rough them in for every single unit. Sorry, we're gonna rough them in for all the units.
thank you.
All right, any other questions on any of the 3 issues? All right, my left. Okay, I want to take these one at a time. There's an order they have to go in. Item I, I'm looking for a motion. There's no further questions.
So moved.
Second.
Item I, Mr. Vogel, Trustee Vogel makes motion, Trustee Papantos makes the second. Clerk Brady, roll call, please.
Trustee Rufato?
Yes,
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes?
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes. Item J, granting special use for preliminary planned unit development. Clerk Brady. Oh, wait. Motion, please.
So moved.
Trustee Krueger, second. Was that Vogel?
Vogel?
Trustee Vogel. Roll call, please.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
Trustee Rufato?
yes,
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes?
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes. Item K, we have approval of the preliminary plat of subdivision for the Highlands at Prairie Park. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Trustee Papantos, second.
Second.
Trustee Krueger, roll call, please.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
Trustee Rufato?
yes,
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes?
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Good luck, sir.
Thank you.
L, ordinance granting a variation to increase the maximum allowable sign area for a changeable copy sign to Community Boulevard, Village of Wheeling, docket number PV 24-0009.
Mr. Clicker, what's the government trying to get away with here?
We're trying to modernize and bring in a better way to communicate with the general residents and citizens through our main ID sign. As such, we're putting in a new EMC or electronic monument.
Reader board?
Yes. And with that, it is in slightly larger than what our code allows. But we did take this to the Plan Commission on August 14th, and the Plan Commission did recommend approval of it.
Questions or comments?
The board should be ashamed of yourselves. You make decisions without any evidence. It's an atrocity. You should be ashamed of yourselves the way you vote. You do not look at the evidence. You do not look at the facts. You rubber stamp everything.
Sir,
Poor government. Good night.
good night.
Is the meeting over? Can I speak now?
No, it's not. He's just disrupting. We have, you can come and talk to somebody, but you're disrupting the meeting. new reader board sign out front. Would you please explain it again, Mr. Clicker?
We're trying to better communicate with the residents of Wheeling and convey messages in a clearer manner to them. So we're putting in a new electronic message center sign, and it is slightly larger, which means it is in slight deviation from our zoning code. This was reviewed by the Plan Commission and unanimously was recommended for approval.
Questions or comments? Trustee Papantos?
With approval, how long before we get the sign, and is the Park District happy?
Tomorrow.
The Park District is happy, and we'll order the sign as soon as it's approved.
Any other questions or comments?
Are
If-
any parts of the old sign reusable? Or is it the
Yes.
whole thing coming down and?
So we did work with the existing sign. We're going to be reusing a significant portion of the base. If you look at the cut sheet on the screen
Yeah.
above, the community campus portion is existing. We're going to increase the width by where you see the columns. We're going to continue the columns up through the stone base above or below the screen, and we'll top it with the sign. But as Director Clicker said, it's larger than our 100 square foot maximum. And so it's a higher resolution. It is able to convey messages with more of an animated ability, and it's new technology.
Is it both sides?
Yeah, it's both sides of the.
Cool.
Any other questions or comments?
To approve?
Motion trustee Lang, second.
Second.
Trustee Vogel, roll call, please.
Trustee Vito?
Yes.
Trustee Lang?
Yes.
Trustee Krueger?
Yes.
Trustee Rafato?
Yes.
Trustee Vogel?
Yes.
Trustee Papantos?
Yes.
President Horker?
Yes. Item next.
Excuse me. 13M, discussion concept review for 268 7th Street multifamily development.
Mr. Clicker, what do we got?
We have a request before you for a concept review of a 6-flat building or a 6-unit multifamily building on 7th Street. It is a vacant lot currently, and it is completely surrounded by 6-flat buildings. So the developer is proposing to essentially finish the block with a new 6-flat building. And again, this is a concept review, so there's no binding action with this. This is for you, an opportunity for you to provide comment to the petitioner as they begin their process of going through the approvals through the Plan Commission and ultimately back.
And for a consensus, how we feel.
Correct.
Trustee Rafato.
In the checklist, under the current village code, construction of a 6-flat property will require multiple variations. And what might those be?
Let me see what they are.
Out here.
I believe the variations in general would be pertaining to some of the height and setback of the structure itself. But again, it would be very consistent with the other properties that are around there.
I mean, that's my only comment. If I don't know what those really are, and I know this concept, but, granted, it's a 6-flat around 6 flats, but there's nothing more to it than that.
Right.
I don't know. That's all I had.
Thank you. Trustee Lang, did you have something?
I do. When I first saw this, I read about it, it looked like it was going to be another one of those buildings there. But it actually has a little bit more design. It is much nicer looking than some of the older ones that are sitting there. So yeah, I would approve the preliminary on something like this.
Trustee Krueger, I didn't mean to leave you out. Do you have an opinion about this?
No, I didn't. Trustee Lane kind of covered what I was thinking. Not only is it a 6-flat and a bunch of 6 flats, but it has a really nice design according to the rendering, and I think the other 6 flats are going to be jealous. So, that's it.
Looks
Thanks.
good to you? Looks okay to you?
Yeah, looks good.
Okay. Trustee Vito? I'll get to you, Trustee Papantos.
I got nothing.
Got nothing?
I just assumed he'd have.
Trustee Papantos?
A couple questions. Obviously, in the renderings, we're not looking at any covered parking. Why don't we just get rid of that in our code?
That is a prerogative that you would have. We could propose some changes to that. You know, in general, multifamily development, I think when that code was added we were in the mix of the town center, and again, we would want covered developments in there. I don't know if it necessarily need to be for all units. Maybe we can look at covered parking for various districts instead of all
I mean, we
districts.
seem to
Yeah.
give variances on it all the time, and if that's the case, why have the code?
Right.
And the state law does require charging stations, correct? Or,
Capability for charging stations. So as the previous applicant stated, they will be placing in the conduit, and that's so that the circuit can be pulled at a later date, but there needs to be the capability for EV chargers. It doesn't mean that the chargers have to be installed.
and just out of curiosity, how come this land, like, everything was built around it? We had this,
I couldn't answer that. I don't know.
just happened, huh?
No.
Nobody wanted to build that one. Okay, thank you.
Trustee Vogel?
Nothing, thank you.
Nothing, thank you. I agree with the idea that it looks like a 6-flat in a sea of, where there should be a 6-flat, and I was also surprised to see that the lot was vacant, so I think it fits in fine. That give you what you're looking for, Mr. Clicker? Sure. Thank you, sir. Okay, official communications.
I just wanted to state that I wasn't for it.
You weren't, what?
I wasn't in favor of this,
Oh,
You were not in favor of the 6-flat?
of the concept, right?
Well,
I just wanted to make it, I know everybody else was okay with it.
good to keep it interesting.
Right, thank you.
Any other questions? I attended the small little communication. I attended the ribbon cutting at the Community Consolidated School District 21's Health Center today. District 21, nice job. It says a lot about a community, the way they take care of their people, the way they take care of their students. I think it's a wonderful next step in the evolution of the way the village and the district take care of their residents. Also attended the ribbon cutting at the Bisco, the Bisco Hall over at the Korean Cultural Center. They now have the facility to have concerts or banquets for up to 200 or 300 people. It's quite a long way they've come in the last 20 years. They have a display on loan from Museum of Science and Industry from the World's Fair, the Korean exhibit from the World's Fair from 1893. So they've really established themselves in the area. And that's all I have. Jeff? If we have no other business or announcements, we still have the bills to pay. Bills for August 1st through September 16th, 2024. Does anybody have any questions? If there are none, I'd be looking for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Trustee Papantos, second.
Second.
Trustee Kruger, roll call, please.
Trustee Rafano,
Yes.
trustee Kruger,
Yes.
trustee Lang, trustee Vito,
Yes.
trustee Papantos.
Yes.
Trustee Vogel,
Yes.
President Horker.
Yes, there is no executive session this evening. That means this meeting's business has come to a conclusion. I would be looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Trustee Kruger, second.
Second?
Trustee Vito, all in favor?
Aye.
Adjourn. Come and speak, sir. Mr. Bogwan.